Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Uxtsuki. In this video, I'm gonna talk about lines, outlines, and inner lines. So before we start, I just wanted to correct myself. In the previous video about material, I said that material is composed by texture, specularity, and reflection. I wanted to say that, as I said before, I do not follow a script, so sometimes I forget to say some things, and actually sometimes I may be not exactly wrong, but not adjusted with my vision, with my point of view, because this idea of a material is composed by three things. Actually, it was my first thought. Actually, I divide a material in four parts. So it is texture, light diffusion, that is not only the specularity, how defined it is, but also how fast the light get out of the surface and it becomes dark, the reflection, and transparency. Actually, light is opacity. So if something is very opaque, so it will feel solid. If less, it would feel transparent. And this is important, these four divisions, because there are things that are transparent and have specularity, reflection, and texture, such as crystals. So this is the correction. So let's go. What is outlines? Outlines is basically the line that follow the counter of our subject. Usually it matches perfectly with the silhouette. So imagine this is a silhouette of a mushroom. I know that there are a lot of imperfection jaggeds, but the focus is not this, so I will ask you to not bother with imperfection in this part, alright? As I said, outlines would be basically a line that follow the shape, actually the silhouette of our subject. The first type of outline is actually the lack of outline. You are totally free to make pixel art without outlines. Actually, it's part of your style. The second is basically the outline itself. Here on a sprite, if you press Shift O, the software will autocomplete and add the outline. Alright? Actually, you are able to be specific what you want about your outline, but obviously you are totally able to do it by yourself. And what outlines do? What is the effect of outlines? The main one is to unify the silhouette, because if you have a lot of clusters or basically subparts that jump out of the body. So for example, if this is a huge mushroom and I have a lot of small mushrooms, for example, jump out of the body, they might feel disconnected from the main subject. So outlines makes these feel more unified. So this is the main role of outlines, but they also brings attention to the subject. For example, imagine you are playing a game and this is the grass, for example. So imagine this very ugly apple is sitting on the ground. As you can see, they have the same saturation. Nothing that maybe wouldn't happen if I had palette, a color palette. But anyways, as you can see, this apple is very like blended with the background because they lack contrast. So actually, if this apple is, for example, a drop, this need to bring attention, like to be separated from the rest of the background. And how can you do this? By using outline. This will bring attention and make something like this is either interactable or does not make part of this thing. So outlines basically serves for these two purposes: to unify silhouettes and make things that might look not the same thing being read as the same thing, and to bring attention, like to make something highlighted. Outlines as well could be white. What is the difference between dark black outlines and light like white outlines? Usually, white outlines is used by UI stuff, right? So, for example, I will remake the apple, that simple apple, and looks how this the last effect of this is something either interactable or not part of this background. And at this one, do you agree that this feels more like an icon or something like this? This is the effect of outlines, alright? It's not that this necessarily is like a forced way to like feel this way. Actually, this happens naturally, right? We also have colored outlines. They are subdivided into two parts. Like we have the colored outline that use the dominant color of the subject. So everything that is not even the same color of this, but actually will be colored this way. And we also have the colored outline following the local color, like the color of that part. How do you decide which one you go with? While the black outlines like make something pop out of the inner screen, it brings the attention instantaneously, and the white feels like a new white thing. That is something that is either on the foreground or actually part of the interface. The colored outlines also serves as the primary intention of outlines to unify things. But differently from the other two options, this does not make something steal all the attention. These in a black outline would be more visible. Let me put it this way. So pick colored outlines if you want something to feel unified, yet not steal the whole attention. Now, how do you decide for each one? The dominant color outline usually is when you want to make something feels that it's not as much important as the main subject, because for example in this local colored one, the stem and the leaf is still too much attention compared to the apple. So if the apple is the main thing, is the focal point, actually I may want to use the red colored, because now the apple is still being the most important part of this. Now last but not least, we have imperfect or leaked outlines. This one is basically this idea. Like you have either horizontal outlines only or vertical outlines only. I know people dislike this type of outline in that way, but actually this is pretty stylistic. To be honest, I think there is no logical reason to go with this without being stylistic. So I do not have a logical reason for you to pick this one instead of just style. So you might go with it just because you like the way it feels. Yeah, it feels unique. We don't have that feeling of everything is absolute. So I think this is the description of this outline. But to be honest, when you should go with it, I do not have the answer. We have the inner lines. So lines that is actually inside of the silhouette. Because as I said, the outlines serves to unify forms, to unify the silhouette and bring attention. But how about the inner lines? Inner lines usually is used to separate things and make them readable. So for example, we have these two parts, even though they have different values, different parts, different levels, different depths of the same thing. These things, even though they have different values, they have different colors, they are pretty flat compared to the other one. And also in here, thing that is different from this thing. And even though they have different values, they might be pretty confused what is this in a big picture? So inner lines have this purpose. So for example, if I use this to separate things and this part, now these parts are being read as different things, even though in perspective they could be dubious, mainly this part. So now they are separated here as well, even though these, for example, this and this do not have a huge difference in values, they actually are read as different things because of these inner lines. You might use, for example, to overlight the nose of a character in a small sprite. You might use this to highlight some chest armor or anything like this. You have the silhouette and you have things that is in this silhouette. Clusters usually. So if this cluster is being read as part of the main subject and you don't want to be read like this, or they are merging with the background, you do not have the feeling of depth, use inner lines. Okay, so thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.